When these words came out of my mouth, it was one of the worst days of my career and my life. I had become the one thing I never wanted to be. I had become the enemy of my students. I had become the worst version of myself. This was a moment that I wish would have never happened, but in hindsight, I'm glad it did. Because this is the moment that I realized something had to change. I was done. I was just so done. I started to see problems in my classroom that I'd never seen before, on a scale that I'd never seen before. Now, all these things sometimes happen, but I was seeing them like a tsunami of these problems as they stacked up in my classroom. My students had zero ownership. You guys ever felt like you cared more about like every student's success than they did? Just pick up the pencil. Just, come on. Just pick it up. Please. You got to wake up first, though. Okay? As teachers, we know one thing. When we get stressed, we don't keep the stress at school, right? I was ready to quit teaching. I was done. So I wasn't just keeping all this stress at school. I was taking it home. I was surviving every single day. And when I say surviving, you guys know what I mean by that? I mean just like literally, when is the bell gonna ring? Is that clock slow? Is there some sort of time vortex in my classroom door? I should call NASA. I don't think this is accurate. There's no way it's only been 10 minutes. I was literally, if you're laughing, you've been there. So I decided to recommit myself to teaching. I decided to recommit myself to the idea that I could be a great teacher again, that I could reach my students again, because I could be the educator they needed me to be. I decided to commit myself to better. And I didn't really know the gravity of that at the time. But I knew that I couldn't keep doing what I was doing and expect different results. I couldn't keep doing what had worked in the past. I had to be better. Something had to be different. So when I started to think about what that meant, I started to break down what teaching was to me. I started to think about my planning and how I could make it more effective and targeted for students. I started thinking about engagement and how I could make my students excited about learning. I thought about ownership so that my students could own and be accountable for the learning and the work and the efforts they were putting in every single day. I thought about grading and management and parent communication. One of my biggest aha moments is when I started thinking about pacing and mastery. I also thought about building relationships, because when you're having a hard year like the one I just described, smiling at your students becomes a chore. I was done. I needed to be better. You can't change all of these things overnight. So I started focusing on one thing at a time. One thing I could be better at today than I was yesterday. One thing that I can be better at this week than I was last week. Maybe I can grade more accurately. Maybe I can smile more. Maybe I can build a better relationship. Maybe I can foster a better experience for the learners in my classroom. Maybe I can be a better colleague. These weren't gigantic shifts. They were small steps. And I want you guys to think about what steps you're going to take. What are those steps that you can take today? Not tomorrow, not next week, not next school year, when I get used to my new curriculum or the new standards. Right now, because all it takes is the right environment. All it takes is the right opportunity. And I want you guys to be that opportunity for your students. Every single one of us has kids that we don't feel like are worth it, that think that the world has given up on them. That if we just give them the opportunity, if we just be a little bit better, can thrive in our classrooms, can feel successful in our classrooms. You can be that opportunity. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's about being a little bit better every single day. And better doesn't mean perfect. I want to be very clear about that. There's no such thing as perfect as far as I'm concerned. Because if you think you're perfect, you're wrong and you've just stagnated. Better means a constant focus on being a little bit better at the small things, the big things, the everything, every single day for your students. The saying that we have on the Teach Better team is that we want you to be better today than you were yesterday and be better tomorrow than you were today. And I want you to think about this saying, because when you're having a really, really bad day, I want you to think about the worst day that you've ever had as a teacher, or maybe this week, or maybe this month. And I want you to think, could I have been better? Could I have changed one thing? Could I have managed that situation better? Could I have graded that assignment better? Could I have instructed that lesson better? What are those small changes that can make you better today than you were yesterday? And better tomorrow than you were today? Because every single one of you has the opportunity to be better today because you are here. You have made the commitment. You have paid the registration. You have traveled from all those places that were up on the map earlier. You are here. I hope you're ready. Let's get out there and teach better.